only wants you to make good beer. And have fun hanging out with your friends. Here's Dono.
Today's episode brought to you with support from Northern Brewer. I've been buying my ingredients and supplies there for 23 years. I'm delighted to have them in support of the program. Check them out at northernbrewer.com. Today on the program we are making a beer that I have made a handful of times and tried some different things. This is my first one, 2006. And it was actually from this book called Beer Captured. So now I'm curious what's different about it. Oh, it's just pills and wheat. That's basically what it is now, and then the right yeast. So after I was making these a little bit, I got the idea to try to make a banana forward one. And that was what I liked better than, I mean, balanced is fine, but then tipping towards the clovey side is not my favorite. And I had some okay luck doing it. This one was 2018. And the couple of things that I did were not extra aeration, not making a yeast starter. So the idea is you're kind of stressing the yeast a little bit. However, with how much yeast is in these imperial packs, although as I look at the screen here, I did use the Stefan in that one. At any rate, that's what I'm doing again today. And the temperature range on the yeast packet says up to 73, which is interesting because I'm sure it was warmer than that, and it will probably be warmer than that again. I do have some rice hulls. I'm absolutely not gonna, this is like a giant, I don't even, well, maybe it's 1 pound, but I mean, it's, you only need like a quarter of that to help the lautering. Got some imperial yeast. I could not get pearl, so I just have 1 ounce of Hersbrucker. Again, this is not really about the hops. It is about the yeast, and it is about the wheat, which I have 50-50. So hopefully it'll, and 10 pounds total, 5 of each. So hopefully it'll be around 1050 or a little under, a little over. As a side note, I'm also going to make a video on how I do my overnight wort hold, not an overnight mash. And I'm doing that very soon here, but that'll be a separate video that will come out before the Hefeweizen. So yeah, here we go. If you've been watching me do these brewing videos for a while, you know I like to do some garden check-ins. So I'll do a quick one there. I got some tomatoes out here. These sunflowers I planted from seed from previous years, and so they're doing alright. The one patch I'm not overly enthusiastic about right now is here. I have a bunch of different plants, and I don't know if you can see, but they're quite small. We've been getting a ton of rain, and I think it's too much rain, but they're not really growing that great. I am doing some herbs in these pots. These dill were planted longest ago, so they're doing all right. And then I've had some trouble with the bloody squirrels. So this area is where I'm growing some stuff that I'm a little more interested in having success with, like cucumbers and carrots. The radishes are up, so I had to put all this fencing around the top, around the side. It's just kind of crazy. I have some more sunflowers back here. I have a couple of these ditchweed plants, but I'll tell you what, people, they are called a weed for a reason. They have exploded everywhere in my yard, almost too much. So I've actually been pulling them out wherever I find them. I'll grow a couple for fun. Raspberries are going crazy this year. I mean, there are a lot of white berries forming. So I'm even considering, and I have some in the freezer anyway, so I'm considering doing some kind of fruit, some kind of raspberry wheat or something. Some more tomatoes here. These are looking a little better than the ones in that other patch. And then the last thing that I always enjoy is my green beans. And they're also completely fenced off on the top and around the sides and the bottom, because otherwise they get dug up. In fact, I just noticed this today. A lonely bean plant about 3 feet from where I would have planted it. So what that tells me is a squirrel probably dug it up, was gonna eat it, carried it over here, and then the thing actually grew. But that will just get mowed over because I got more than enough in here to get what I need. And the last fun thing that's going on right now is just this rose bush that the previous owner, this nice old lady, planted, and that thing is just looking like $1,000,000. You might have seen that in the video about Is Anyone Brewing Anymore? Here we are at the end of the brew day. Aside from cleanup, I will get a better look. It looked like it's going to be about 1050, maybe just over. And I poured it in to my fermenter through my mesh strainer, which is my typical method. And then I'm not going to do any shaking, any pure oxygen, but that's the point of trying to get the, well, that's not the point, that's the aspect of trying to get a little more of a banana forward result. I will ferment it upstairs because that's a little cooler, warmer than in the basement, and it's also what I'm trying to go for. So I'll keep an eye on the fermentation temperature. As usual with these Hefeweizens, I get a lot of blow off, so I haven't used this probably since last summer. And this glass carboy, which works for the blow off tube, but I will update the progress on that. Seems like it's off and running. There was, it's funny because there was like no bubbles in this thing at all, and then I went somewhere and then I came back and then there was bubbles. And it's about 10 o'clock now, but this has actually been going on for a few hours. What are we up to? 72, 74. So that's fine. But yeah, I mean, it's off and running with just pitching the pack. It's officially, it's about, what, 11 hours, but I would say it was fermenting after a few hours ago, so after like 8 hours it was already going, so you know, that's good. This is why we do the blow-off tube for this yeast. Okay, so it's still on the thermometer, but that's pretty good and high. And like I said, the official temperature range was up to 73, but I think when I've done this before, it's gotten higher than that. One time I think it was even off the chart, so over 78. I don't know if it'll get much warmer, and in fact, without taking a gravity reading and messing with that, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is going to be kind of wrapping it up by the end of today. Alright, party people. This beer, this Hefeweizen, did only get down to 10:15, which I thought was weird, and I looked in my notes, and I was right. It usually gets down lower, and I really couldn't have too much speculation on why that was, because I pitched the yeast pack like normal. It was a fresh yeast pack. It started, this beer is one of these fun times when you pitch the yeast at noon, and then by the next day at noon, it's done fermenting, basically, for the most part. I mean, it just like goes crazy, right? The day of blow off. I did use a blow off tube, and that was smart because this Hefeweizen yeast will do that. So I have been trying to, and we'll get into this with a couple of these other ones. I've been trying to do like banana forward Hefeweizens. I think that if you're talking about suppressing the clove or spicy flavors, I don't know exactly if it's the warm temp, the underpitching, the not over aeration, but this I think falls into that parameter for me. But now I find myself asking myself, do I prefer it that way? Or if any of these have more of that traditional clove character, do I like it better? So that's something. First of all, did it accomplish the goal, do you think?
There's a little yeast in here if you want to top up your fair steak.
Did it accomplish the goal?
Of being a banana forward.
Of yours?
Yeah. And not like clovey and stuff, you know.
But I'm still getting some clove and some
Okay.
other stuff out of it. It's got a little spicy undertone, maybe a little sulfur on the nose, some other kind of phenol action going on.
Sure, it's not an absolute
not-
banana bomb.
Yeah, it's not absent, which I appreciate.
Right.
I don't like it when I have Hefeweizen swings too far to either side of the pendulum.
That's kind of what I was
Yeah.
getting at and thinking that, oh, have I made something that now I realize maybe I don't
Yeah.
like as much. But
Yeah.
I think I'm enjoying it, and
It's real
perfectly
nice.
good for this time of year.
But you can definitely get the banana, but it's not completely clove deficient either.
And it did get up to, I probably mentioned, 78, as warm as 78 Fahrenheit, which doesn't seem to have been a problem as far as like off flavors. So we've got some other commercial ones. Weinhenstefaner, which is definitely one of the benchmark styles or brands, correct?
Mhm.
I mean, like they've been around forever,
I mean,
100
it's their
plus years,
yeast, right?
probably.
1,000 plus,
Probably,
give or take.
yeah.
And they're the yeast that most people have
So
probably
that's-
banked and built
So
up.
that's
and
this one. It has a yeast aroma, Hefeweizen aroma.
We were talking off camera a little bit before you started rolling, and the last time I did a Hefeweizen flight with friends, we did, which was about a year ago, but we did like a mix of German, like Weinstefaner was in that mix, and then some local brands, and for this style where the freshness counts so much, it can be tough, like unless you got a bottle shop or a source that turns it over fast, it can be tough to get a fresh example from Germany.
But
and
I think this is good though.
I think this is a nice bottle.
And
Yeah,
I
this,
think
this bottle's in good shape.
More balanced than mine. There's some other characteristics going on.
they do that tricky thing where you can't really tell when it was bottled. Like
Yeah.
the Julian code or whatever they call it.
Yeah, the 6-pack we found last year had some oxidation going on. This is in better shape than the
I
ones we
like
had.
this. I mean,
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason, right?
I agree, and it's nice when you get a chance to have this imported beer and it's in pretty good shape. And this was sitting out warm on the top of some display in a liquor store, and I couldn't find it. And I was looking around, and somehow I was gonna ask the person, they might have known they had it, but my eyes went up, and it was like this high on top of this thing. I was like, that's
Writing is
just what
very
they came
rich.
Yeah,
Because we've been diving into the world of all things double decoction and decoction lately. I wonder if that is a thing. Probably. Do you hear that much with that style, or it's always
Yeah,
a
you
lager
can
thing? But is it
definitely-
ale thing also
you
in
can
that area
definitely
of the world?
decoct.
Okay.
that would be a
Hefeweizen
real
and-
mess with the wheat and the huskless wheat kernels anyway, and they break down
It gets-
even more in a decoction.
It gets goopy, but
Right.
you get a real nice malt character. And yeah, this has a wonderful malt richness to it on top of that balanced profile, and it's just so soft and pillowy. It's got a great texture. Yeah.
So then we have one from New Glarus, which I bought like over a month ago, because whenever I'm in Wisconsin, I see if there's some seasonal New Glarus thing, and I saw Dancing Man wheat, and I thought, that's all I need to know. It's not a year-round it says wheat, give it to me. And then later I read on their bottle it's supposed to be a Hefeweizen.
Nope. 100% bottle fermented. That can't be right. Naturally 100% bottle fermented.
Well, that bottle condition.
Bottle condition.
I guess.
They say fermented, but I get what you're probably saying.
They don't ferment in the bottle.
No, that would be insane.
That would be confusing.
Clove and cinnamon. The thing is, I get like this is the
Clove
biggest.
and cinnamon.
That's what they call it, but I get the most banana, or as we were talking about, maybe more that bubble gum, that pink. Not even Big League Chew. It's got to be that double bubble in the plastic wrapper or the paper wrapper that you get from a lot of these beers, or even into some saisons. Maybe even wit beers a little bit, but wit beers try to push that clove if it's the right yeast, right?
I think it finishes kind of spicy though.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. The yeast expression in this one is so vibrant and so loud, which makes me curious, like, if it was possible in some utopian world to have a Weihenstephaner that was as fresh as your dancing man and have them side by side, right? Like,
There is a world.
You just have to
called
bring your New
Germany.
Glarus to
You
Germany.
gotta go to Germany.
Yeah, there you go. Bring your fresh New Glarus.
yeah.
No, it's spicy.
That's
It almost
good.
like the finish is almost like red hot, but without the heat. But the other
That cinnamon.
parts of
Yeah.
it's like those little things you put on Christmas trees, cookies at Christmas time.
Cinnamon red hots.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a nice beer.
But
I
without
think
the
it's
heat,
like
it's fun.
spicier to me now than it was before. I am
For sure.
getting some more. I mean, initially we were
Maybe the
smelling like,
warmth.
oh, this smells. So you were saying bubblegum, I was saying banana. In the aroma,
As far as all things New Glarus, though, if anyone watching can ever get a beer, they put it out maybe again sometime in the future. But in the past, they've had a beer called the Bubbler. It's a reference to the water fountains. Man, it's an open fermented Hefeweizen, and it is a thing of bubblegum beauty. It's amazing. So, here's to hoping they put it on their seasonal schedule at some point.
so the next commercial one, the last commercial one, is our beloved local brewery called Fair State that does a bang up job with pretty much everything they make.
Good can, too.
This
Not
one's
probably known necessarily for trying to brew like exactly to style.
what is that?
Aside
Can,
from
like,
their
you say that?
Pilsner.
Is there something about that visual that's?
It's like bananas.
Oh, is it?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was like a flag reference.
No, it's,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
it's sort of like a...
Here we go, y'all.
Well,
Here we
you
go, y'all.
might have, yeah. Might have to. Hey, that's why. That's why I
Hello?
stand behind and look at what you don't have.
Get
to,
a clue, y'all. Get a clue. Look closer at the label.
but See what I'm saying?
I thought it was like
That's your...
if you had an
That's your
Oktoberfest, that was a
screen
lot of
grab
like.
right there.
If an Oktoberfest was like a lot of blue and white, I was like, what? Is this a flag from? Strangely enough, I don't find it super banana forward.
No.
Sure.
It's a little banana
This
forward.
is, we had this in our flight last summer too, and yeah, it's probably the least banana-y of the ones on the table.
I'd say it's more banana than Dawn's.
You think?
What it is more than anything, it's light, it's drier, it
Yeah.
has like this effervescentness to it that the style I think is actually kind of supposed to have in a perfect world.
Mm-hmm.
It's supposed to have this round soft body, but it's also supposed to have like kind of this spritziness and drying.
High volume of CO2.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do you think? What do you think about the fact that it's lighter in color? Because it's just gonna be pills and wheat. I mean, it can just be that
Right.
for the grain.
Sometimes you can put a little Munich in them for a little more
Well,
base.
what about mine? I don't have the right glass, but I guess mine's maybe lighter than.
Yeah, your
Some of
yeast is
these.
falling out, so it's
Oh,
it's not apples
that's
to
true.
apples.
That's
a little
true. You're
It's
right.
not
But
bananas to bananas.
bit. But if yeast fell out of this, it would only be lighter. Oh no. The yeast makes it
Darker.
appear lighter.
Yeah, darker.
Okay.
That's
Case in
true.
point is I don't know.
forgot about that.
Case in point is I don't know.
Well, do you think that the Fair State is as close to a traditional example as the Weihenstephaner or maybe the New Glarus, or do you think they're doing their own kind of localized?
I
Small
think the
fine
thing that
thing?
they have going for them is it's clearly fresher. I bought this like a week ago. Can't imagine it was packaged more than a week before that. Versus these two have at least months,
Might it
month,
be-
2 months on them. So
Might it have some hop?
it could.
Would they put some hop?
We could
Like,
look this up.
wait. You know what I mean? Like
Watch
hop
us
flavor?
read.
They even
on
say
camera.
pale spritzy can condition Bavarian style wheat beer with notes of banana vanilla club. So I don't know. I mean, all the things being fresher will help. But you never know.
It also is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're all nice. Do you like Hefeweizen?
I do.
I remember.
Oh, I go back to yours now. I feel like the malt actually stands out a little more.
I think
Kinda
mine
nice.
is like there is an aroma on mine that I don't really care for right now, and I don't know if that's as it gotten warm or if it is the yeast in the keg is going through this time where it will be like, oh, now I don't like it as much for a week, and then it gets scrubbed away slowly, and then it'll be back. Like that could be happening.
Yeast puberty.
Yeah.
I don't like it so much this week. Come back and try again next week.
I don't want to deal with you and your issues this week. We'll come back next week when you have some time to think about
Maybe we
what
have a
you've
new
done.
hobby next week and things mellow out.
I didn't ask to be brewed.
You think I could choose my
I still
style?
I think my favorite of them is still the New Glarus because it's just, and maybe it's that like gimmick bias. It's not even a gimmick, but impact bias. Like it's the one that just like jumps out of the glass.
How so?
Well, it's
Again,
got
that
the most pronounced yeast character.
yeah, that banana, that bubble gum. It's the clearest, ironically, but to the point of our boy Dustin, who accidentally brewed a pilsner with Hefeweizen yeast, and it's like crystal clear.
Here
but
we can
smells-
see if there's any.
You're gonna top us off with a little whipped cream. Oh,
Is that your nuclear?
That is my new Glarus. I'm keeping track.
I mean, even that like
That
amplifies it more.
Made it spicy.
Well, a side note is I had said something about this, but if or when I make a Hefeweizen again, I might actually try to do not to do like banana forward, and so I don't know if that means different temperature, more aeration, more yeast, whatever, but just try to make more like this.
I mean, it's a rabbit hole to go down, but talking to Ashton Lewis, I was just like, he's like, with hefts, it's, you can do temperature. It sounds like pitch rate is actually more important than almost anything.
Pitch rate.
Like, you can
mash
starve
regimen.
that beer for yeast and get thing X or not thing X. I
Right.
can't remember what is.
Low pitch rate is high banana.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we were trying
So
to do that a couple
probably
years ago.
pitching a full, healthy, fresh imperial thing isn't really going low.
Right.
It's not making a starter.
It feels weird to pitch half a pitch of yeast and then be like, so I'm just supposed to pour this down the drain? Okay. But
I've done something like that at some point, but it has been a while, and it did feel weird. Like pour like half.
that's why
or
the
three
pros
quarters
are
of a
like, they
pack.
order the amount they want versus getting some and then wasting it. Anyway. Hefest
Hefeweizen.
2024.
There you go. Yeah, nothing real revelatory, but do you like the Hefeweizen as something you make? It's probably like every 2 years, every 3 years. A wit is another one. I probably won't make those two beers in the same brewing summer season, but
Yeah.
that's kind of those I want to always come back to.
They're beers from a different mother, right? Like, drink them fresh, low ABV usually, wheat beers from the continents.
Spicy notes, either from yeast or from actual spices.
Yeah.
Summertime, baby.
Summertime.
Now, if we can just get the rain to stop,
Ooh.
we might have some summertime. All right, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Catch you later.